So about 4 years ago, I put up a video called My Dwarf Fortress Stories, where I talk about my first encounter with a giant. I've been wanting to do a video like that again, but the thing is, the stories I have left over aren't as grand as that one. But I still think they're fun lessons I learned from playing Dwarf Fortress. Alright, so if you already know what Dwarf Fortress is or just want to skip straight to the stories, go to the timestamp on the screen right now while I try to explain what Dwarf Fortress is to a bunch of normal people. In Dwarf Fortress, you generate a world full of fantasy creatures like elves, kobolds, dragons, and these weird things called humans. And the fantastic thing about this generation is it doesn't just create land masses and cities for these civilizations, it also creates a history for it. It creates wars, it creates kingdoms falling apart, it creates vampires or demons taking the thrones of human civilizations. You can lose yourself looking into a single person's history that was generated in this game. One of the main modes in Dwarf Fortress is called Fortress Mode, and it's the mode I mostly play. In it, you take 7 dwarves and just enough supplies to last yourself a couple months, and go create yourself a new fortress home. Now, Dwarf Fortress can be a brutally hard game, making you have to deal with things like lack of food, alligators that want to eat your dwarves, to stuff like giants and vampires and a large army of goblins. At some point, your fortress is going to succumb to one of these disasters, and that's okay, because in Dwarf Fortress, losing is fun. Losing gets you stories to tell. Alright, so let's get to the first story where I learned a very valuable lesson about hallway placement. So I had a new fortress, still with the original 7 dwarves, and I was kind of playing ahead, carving out areas for like a hospital, for bedrooms and dining rooms, and more importantly, a statue garden on the ground level. I kind of like having a statue garden right outside the fortress entrance because I think it helps prevent dwarves from getting cave sickness and vomiting all over the place whenever they have to come outside of the fortress to do some work. So I had my dwarves carve out a little area into a hill, just a little out of the way from the main entrance for this statue garden, but it left a dirt roof on top, and I wanted the doors to get as much sunlight as possible if they hang out at the statue garden. So I set my miners to start knocking out that dirt roof. Now, I'm not really sure what happened. It was a bit quick, but what I think happened was, while miner A was trying to knock out a tile of the roof, miner B decided to take out a tile that miner A was standing on, which caused miner A to fall down into the unbuilt statue garden. Now, I've had dwarves fall 1Z level before. It's not a big deal. Usually, they can die, but usually they just get some bruises or really nothing at all. But what I didn't know was, under the statue garden, we had a little, a small tunnel we used for irrigation for the farms. And what I also didn't know was, when an object falls from the sky and lands on a piece of ground where underneath is carved out, that ground will collapse and that object will fall into the next Z level. Now, this is how unlucky this dwarf was. If she fell just to the left or just to the right of where she landed, she would have been fine. But no, she had to fall in the exact right spot where she fell into this tunnel. Not only that, underneath this tunnel is a hallway that led to the supplies room. Underneath that hallway was a hallway that led to the new bedrooms I was setting up, and below that hallway was the hallway to the hospital. This freaking dwarf fell 5 Z levels. Luckily, she didn't die. If I remember correctly, she only broke a leg, She got taken to a bedroom to heal up because the hospital wasn't done. And thankfully, I bring a doctor along for each new fortress. And it took some time, but she got patched up. And right as she was able to get out of that bed, she picked up her pickaxe and went straight back to work. Maybe we can learn a little something from this dwarf. I think she died not too long ago from infections. We didn't really have soap. Now my next story taught me a very valuable lesson about water. Now I like to have a hospital in my fortresses, and in my previous games I tend to find that I kept making my hospitals pretty close to the surface, and I kind of wanted to change that. I wanted it to be deep down in my fortress next to my main dining hall. I figured it would be easier for the nurses and doctors to get food for the patients. I also like to have a well inside of my hospitals. A bunch of people just realized what I did. So after building the well, I made a tunnel from the river at the surface all the way down to my hospital. Now, for people who don't know, Dwarf Fortress kind of has water pressure in it. So that water coming down pushed the water outside of the well and started filling up the hospital. And because I was still building the hospital, I didn't have a door on it yet to block the water. So I pretty much just drowned my entire fortress. Hundreds of dwarves, cats, dogs, and I believe a single horse died that day. But thankfully, I had doors on my dining hall, which had about 20 dwarves already in it having a party or something. I locked the doors. They had enough food to survive a couple months, which is good because at some point a migrant wave appeared and they either had a pickaxe or they were able to get to the supply area before it got submerged, and we were able to dig a tunnel all the way down from the surface to the main dining area and save those dwarves. I learned that day that floodgates are your friends and water is as much your enemy as a giant is. I spent 30 minutes looking at this fortress, deciding if I was going to keep on playing. I decided not to because I just could not deal with the horror of seeing all these drowned dwarves floating in the water. But I kind of regret that now. I really wish I kept on playing, because at that point I would have had to deal with a bunch of angry ghosts, and that could have been a lot of fun. So that's your lesson today. Never quit until everyone's dead. Thanks for watching.